Good afternoon, folks. It's your old pal Colby Evans here, coming up to you with episode 2 of ARCA Racing Backmarker News. This is our little news portion of the show where we just kind of talk about backmarker news, but also ARCA Racing news in general. Basically, so we can look into 2022 and beyond and see what great action is going to be going on for the backmarkers and the ARCA Racing Series presented by Menards for 2022. So let's get right into the ARCA side first because we do have some big news. For the people who do not have Track Pass, there's going to be a brand new streaming service for ARCA and the NASCAR Roots Series in general for 2022. Let me pull up the article here so I can read it to you guys, so I also know what I'm talking about here. NASCAR has inked a multi-year deal with Flow Sports that will make Sports Streamer the exclusive global home of the NASCAR Roots Series, basically being the ARCA Series, Whelen Modified Tour, Pinty Series, and any other said NASCAR series that would run, sanctioned series that would run on that channel. Over 280 events will be supposedly streamed in 2022, and it will have the bulk content that will cover not on Peacock. Now, the deal is $150 for the year. And I know $150, I can agree with you guys, does sound a little high. But when you think about it, for over 280 races, just $150 for the whole year, divide that and go race by race. That's like what? 7, 8 cents per race? It's not really that much. So in reality, the $150 for all of that streaming is a good deal. Now, for me, having to cover ARCA, I'm pretty much going to have to get it no matter what if we want to continue this podcast. So if you guys want definitely a review of how the Flow streaming service works, just come right here because I'll be buying it and I'll give you guys definite a review of how the streaming service is going to work. But anyway, I'm very excited for it again. Just a measly $150, which I know is not everyone can afford that, but unfortunately, it's just kind of where we have to live with. Looks like NBC Sports pretty much just shutting down. It looks like our Track Pass. Anyone really has a Track Pass account, it's pretty much going to be useless into 2022. But the Flow account will cover, and I quote, like I said, ARCA Menard Series, Whelen Modified Tour, Penny Series, and the one that I did forget, the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series. That's what I forgot. It will also boost investment in grassroots racing, including providing funding for the local short tracks. And the one thing I'm so happy for is bigger purses for the drivers, for the people who compete in the NASCAR Touring and Weekly Series. Anytime we can increase the payouts is a definite bonus. So I'm very happy about that. If it means we can get just an extra $500 to $1,000 for these guys in the Whelen Modified Tour and ARCA and the Weekly Series, that is a major boost. So, but again, $150, but for over 280 events. You guys got to look at it like that. The investment is there, but I can understand if some people just simply can't afford the $150. That's why you come here and watch the podcast, so I can tell you all about it. Yeah. Moving on to our second part of ARCA news. You guys might have saw her last year for a couple of races, Stephanie Moyer. Now, not a well-known name, but if you do follow ARCA, I have mentioned her on the podcast before. I'd love to get her on the show sometime as a guest. She did quite a few East starts, and I believe also finished in the top 10 in the East Series in points. She made quite a few East starts for Andy Hillenberg in this year. I guess this year in reality because it's not 2022 yet. Also made some main series starts, including at Iowa, the race I was at. And supposedly she's looking for funding to run the full 2022 East Circuit, as well as more than likely some main series races if she can provide the funding. So I'm really happy for Stephanie. She shows a lot of potential. The one thing I've seen with Stephanie, it's the tires. Is she burned up her tires at Iowa, but that was a starting park. She has so much potential, and I really see it in Stephanie. The problem is, though, is that I just don't see him building her as just like Haley Deegan 2.0. And I don't want him to do that. but I don't think they're going to put the camera time that they did into Haley. They're not going to put that into Stephanie. Just like how, with what we saw in the recent week with Johanna Long getting some extra content from the Snowball Derby, everybody could clearly realize that Johanna Long was a natural talent, unlike Danica Patrick when it came to NASCAR. That's just my personal opinion. Your guys' might be a little different. But I think we can all agree that Johanna Long deserved that 7 car more than Danica. That's just my opinion. But going back to Stephanie, I wish her nothing but the best of luck for 2022. I hope she can find the funding for the full East Circuit, and we can also see her at a couple of main ARCA Series races in general. Be great to see her run big tracks like Talladega, Daytona, Kansas. I believe they are going to Michigan again next year. Any races like that would be fun to see. So very happy for Stephanie, and I wish her and Fast Track Racing, my buddy Andy Hillenberg, nothing but the best for 2022. We just might have a Fast Track Racing driver coming on the show, so stay tuned there. Getting out of the ARCA news and going on to the Backmarker NASCAR portion of the show, we'll start off with the news that literally just came out a couple of hours ago. It was announced, I believe, 3 weeks ago, guys. Am I right there? 3 weeks ago? That, or maybe 2 weeks ago, that Josh Williams would not be returning to the 92 DGM racing team that he had really done a great job with over the last couple of years. That ends, I believe, 2017? 4 years? Am I correct there? 4 years with DGM Racing, doing start and parks. I mean, you talk about Josh working his way up the ladder at DGM. Start and park in the 92, and even when he would run the full race, he didn't have the tires to really be competitive, to now having the sponsorship. He DNQ'd at COTA and still managed to get that car into the top 20 in owner points for the top 20 bonus. That, my friend, is impressive. If you can do that, that is a natural talent. And we all love Josh Williams. We loved his drive with Dale Earnhardt Jr. back at Richmond. And I've met the guy personally. Just what a lovely character. And just like me, he's got a luscious mullet. He's the best. But it was announced today that he'll be driving the number 78 for BJ McLeod Motorsports. I can't think of, other than Carl Long, probably my 2 most favorite underdogs. BJ is one of the nicest, best guys in the garage you'll ever meet. If you are not a BJ McLeod fan, I want you to give me a rightful reason why you're not a BJ McLeod fan. Everybody loves BJ McLeod. And I think it's a good partnership. And although I've been seeing a lot of comments, and I can understand the comments in a little bit saying, is it a step down from DGM? It's hard to say. Looking at the results of 2021, you can say that based on DGM results to BJ's results, that BJ's team is maybe a step down, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. We don't know that for sure. Because you also got to look at Alex and Josh. They push their cars hard to the max every single week. Whereas Matt Mills and Jesse Little, kind of the way that I've seen BJ McLeod work over the last couple of years, his guys run hard but conservative. That's what I've really seen with BJ's guys. They run hard but conservative. DGM, they just run hard. So I'm hoping that with the sponsorship, because it was announced that most of Josh's sponsors, except for Work Pro Tools, Work Pro staying with DGM, but most of his other sponsors, I think Startron and Sleepwell, I think they're going over with him. And if that's the case, they can get the tires that they need to be competitive. And I think that people were underestimating that 78 car. Will it run top 20 every week like the 92 could? I don't know. But I definitely think it's a better opportunity for BJ's Xfinity team to be a lot more competitive than they were this year. Not saying they weren't competitive this year. They were. But definitely having Josh Williams in the car is a step up. Especially with Stephon Parsons in the, I believe he'll be in the 99, which does leave actually a little question that I was going to ask. What does that leave Matt Mills? Because we know how usually BJ has done it is 2 full-time guys in 1 cars. And then you have the 99, like this year, 99 car, which was the pay driver car. Basically, a guy who would have a couple of races of sponsorship come and drive the car. Will Matt still be driving the 5 full-time in 2022? Or will the five car, excuse me, will the five car become the pay driver car and Matt Mills simply moves to a different team? Will Matt Mills replace Josh in the 92? In the comment section, I don't personally see BJ having four cars because with the huge influx of Xfinity teams next year, having a fourth car on BJ's budget, even with the pay driver sponsorship, I don't see the benefit of doing that. Especially the likelihood is we might have another 43 to 44 full-time Xfinity cars for next year and only starting 36 because the top 40 rule is gone. I mean, yeah, they ran, like in the comment section, yeah, they ran four at Charlotte, but that's at the home race in Charlotte. Try lugging four cars all the way out to Vegas. Are they going to Sonoma? No, Portland. I mean, Portland. Yeah, true. Yeah, one of them was a Haas car. But to see what I mean, it's not easy. And for a team like BJ, I just don't think it would be financially feasible, even with pay drivers. But nonetheless, love Josh, love BJ. I think this is a great partnership. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people with their results. I genuinely believe that this is BJ McLeod's, not taking anything away from other drivers, but I personally believe that this is the best lineup that BJ McLeod has ever had for his team. Stephon Parsons is a beast. Josh Williams is a beast. And whoever gets the five car, whether it's Matt Mills again or it's the pay drivers, that car will also be very competitive. I'm very excited for BJ McLeod Motorsports in 2021, along with the Live Fast Motorsports program. Again, if you're not a BJ McLeod fan, I don't know what's wrong with you guys. Just saying that, my personal opinion, love the guy. More Xfinity news, and this actually has a little bit of a tie-in to ARCA. A guy that pretty much when it was announced, everyone's like, who? And I was only like saying, I know that kid. He's actually really talented, and he deserves the opportunity. Parker Retzlaff will drive part-time in the Xfinity Series in 2022 for the Ryan Sieg Racing team. And honestly, everyone's like, who? Who is this guy? Well, for anyone who might not know, he did race in the ARCA East Series and main ARCA Series and made a couple of starts in the K&N Pro Series as well. I believe it's a total of about 18 starts. And yet the Parker's run pretty good. I would say definitely his best performance was the East race at New Smyrna earlier this year, where he led about 50, 60 laps before being the lead taken over. He's a good talent. He brings much needed sponsorship from Ponzi. His sponsors, I believe that's how you pronounce it, Ponzi. I don't know if I'm probably botching that, but I'm just trying my best. Ponzi, Echo Tracks, and Iron Horse Loggers will obviously help fit the bill. Now, we don't know what number it is yet with RSS's second team. Honestly, I hope they just go back to the 93. I liked having the 39 and 93. So I hope it's a number 93, but they might pick another number that fits Parker a little better, or just another number in general that, they see as more better. So, and as for that, his first race of the season is expected to be the Phoenix race on Saturday, March 12th, which I believe is, I haven't looked in the schedule a while, but it's in the first, 5 or 6 races, I believe. I haven't looked at the schedule in a while, but he's a kid. I'm happy that he's coming into the Xfinity Series, and I'm happy that he'll have a little practice session followed by qualifying. Because this is a kid who easily fits the note. He needs to have practice and qualifying to be able to even think about being competitive in this car. And that was another thing I felt like we had problems with the pay drivers last year. A lot of these young kids from ARCA, except Ty Gibbs, who were trying to make Xfinity and truck starts, well, they just started the race. I don't care how much you iRace. iRacing is about as close as you're going to get to the real thing, but it's not the real thing. You could iRace for 30 years and still have it be 100% different when you actually hit the track. But I'm glad he's going to get a qualifying opportunity and a couple of laps of practice to help improve his driving. The other races that he will be at will be Richmond, Martinsville, Dover, Nashville, Atlanta, Pocono, Kansas, Bristol, Texas, and the second season finale race at Phoenix. I think those are tracks that do fit his driving style because he's been a mostly short track racer. But it will be good to see Parker get some big track experience at a track like Kansas, which, from what I've seen, seems to be the best track to debut a rookie. Mainly because Kansas, from what I've seen, it's not a relatively difficult track to debut a rookie. It's challenging, it's got its challenging parts of it, but if you want a safe 1.5 mile that you could stay out of the way at, Kansas is the one. You could basically just have him hog the bottom while the leaders will run the top line. But I can't wait to see Parker there next year. It'll make me really excited to see him there and hopefully get to meet him again. He's a lovely kid. For like I said, for the people wondering, who is this guy? He's a good kid. He's a good driver, and I hope he can really prove himself next year in this RSS ride. Moving on to our third Xfinity Series news. You guys saw it a couple weeks ago, and I tried my best to stick up for him until I saw a lot of the news that came out beside it. Mike Harmon, as you guys have seen in a couple of YouTube videos of his cars on track and a couple of pictures, Mike Harmon had run a charity race. Was it for autism or for Toys for Tots? I wasn't quite sure what the charity race was for, but nonetheless, Mike Harmon brought two cars, the Zombie Dodge and the car that Ryan Ellis had actually DNQ'd at Phoenix with just a couple of weeks earlier. Now, although Mike was not even running close to 100% in that car, unfortunately, you cannot run a 2021, basically a new car. You cannot run a new car at a different track because it's considered a test. And well, while I was trying to argue with people, it was just a mistake. It was this and that. From what I've learned, Mike was told many, many times not to take the car. And I'm not slagging Mike Harmon. I understand you want to take the new car to a track like Rockingham. Rockingham's a fun track. I'd want to take a new car there too. But unfortunately, rules were rules. And they got a $50,000 penalty to crew chief Ryan Bell. And I'm really gutted for Ryan because Ryan's a good friend in the garage area to me. He was a good mentor when he worked with MBM Motorsports. Now, obviously, works for Mike Harmon. And he put out a really sad statement, honestly. It was shared on kickingthetires.net. And I'm going to go ahead and read it to you guys here real quick. So bear with me while I pull up this article. So here are the words of crew chief Ryan Bell, the 74 car from Mike Harmon Racing. In response to the almost 100 messages I've received responding to the NASCAR fine. So we are a week away from my NASCAR appeals hearing. Sadly, unlike a lot of crew chiefs and the teams at the top of our sport, Mike Harmon Racing and Ryan Bell cannot afford to pay a $50,000 fine. Although Mike has expressed to me that he would do everything in his power to make that happen, I cannot ask this team to pay the fine. It would destroy this team at this time. So with that being said, I leave you with these words. I gave up my entire world to be a part of this sport, moved away from friends and family and left a good life behind. So many have made this sacrifice over the years. I felt like I represented another generation taking a step into the unknown. Over the years, I've worked countless hours, drove across this great country, and sacrificed not just my time, but my health. I've met men and women who have inspired me and taught me lessons that I will carry with me until I die. I've dined with celebrities, met political leaders, and shook hands with so many inspiring people with disabilities or terminal illnesses. They just wanted to be at the racetrack and rub elbows with their heroes. Coworkers have become friends, and friends have become family. People I've met in the garage have become so much more than a fan interaction. They became key players in my life. This sport has given me so much heartbreak, but so many amazing memories. In 2017, my health got so bad, I tried to take my own life. Yes, I stood on a baseball field that my son played on regularly and held a gun to my head. Luckily, that night ended with me in medical care, and leading me to a meeting a man that saved my life. Along this journey, so many people inside this sport came to my side and are still there to check on me daily. My love for this business almost cost me my life because I wouldn't miss work to find out what was wrong with me. Come to find out, years of head injuries, a lot of sacrificing myself in the pits to get these race machines back out as quick as possible, has now led to permanent bruising to the frontal lobe of my brain. Against the wishes of my families and doctors, I kept going. I've missed birthdays, major family surgeries. I stood in the garage at Indy Motor Speedway as they did surgery to remove our dead child from my wife. It was an extremely hard day. I've missed family funerals, weddings, and major events. I've done it all for my love of this sport and this community. I've got to live my dream of becoming a crew chief at the sport's highest level. My dad got to watch me live my dream and carry on his legacy. That's what is important. If Mike Harmon Racing participating in a charity event is what ends my career, then so be it. If they want me out of the sport so bad that trying to support autism, a condition my 7-year-old son has, then I'll walk away. If this is what our community has come to, that these big teams literally try to do everything they can to cheat and get minimal repercussions, and they want to destroy a small team because they are embarrassed by us, then so be it. Let's be honest. The chance of them letting us win this appeal is slim to none. So this is probably it for me. I'll move on and find another journey, but please know this. I appreciate every single one of you that have reached out. I appreciate all the people who have been a part of this ride. I could go work in another series. In the past, when this penalty was handed out, they never find the crew chief directly. So apparently, this is personal. So if that's what it is, about I'll be done. That's my comments. I hope I've answered some of your questions. Love you all. Signed, Ryan Bell. And let me say that is a very, very powerful statement put out by crew chief Ryan Bell. And like I said, he's one of my good friends. And for the couple years that he did work for MBM Motorsports, he was a mentor to me. I was put on the start and park vehicle that MBM would field, and he gave me a lot of tips, gave me a lot of ideas, and he really made me feel a lot, along with a couple of other guys, he made me feel very at home. And I think we can all agree the chances of them winning the appeal are slim to none. I wish them nothing but the best in general. I hope something good can come out of this, but unfortunately, the old saying is rules are rules. And I've seen a lot of people post that Mike Harmon Racing was told numerous times not to take the car. Now, note, if they had just taken the zombie Dodge, no problem. Nothing would have been said about it. No problem would have happened. No fines, no nothing. It was simply that they took the 2021 race car was the problem. If they would just brought in the zombie Dodge, NASCAR wouldn't have had a care in the world. But that's the big note here. It was just because they brought the 2021 race car. But it's sad to see that it has come to all this. And well, while Ryan does make a few good points, again, like I said before, rules are rules as much as you hate it, you know. And then I hate that quote. You know, that quote has hurt me in a lot of ways. Rules are rules, you know, with how life goes. And I'm sure that quote has hurt everyone in life. But no matter what your opinion on all of it is, you never like to see someone get forced out of the sport like that. And I hope Ryan can find something good if he does not return to NASCAR. I wish Ryan nothing but the best. He's one of my good friends online. I try to keep in touch with him. And all I can say is best wishes to Ryan Bell and Mike Harmon Racing for 2022. I hope the appeal goes the best it can, but I think we all pretty much know the answer. So, well, let's try to get on to something else here for the podcast. Now, this was not released, moving on, this was not released by the man himself. One of my favorite guys on Twitter, and arguably, in my opinion, the best custom car. If you guys want a custom diecast of your favorite driver, um, that was not produced by Lionel, this is the guy to go to. In fact, I actually got one right here. Let me grab it real quick. Um, Back in 2019, my dad, his company DEEI, sponsored the 42 of Chad Fincham at Iowa, and I wanted to get a present my dad for his birthday. And thanks to Chesapeake Diecast on Twitter, he made that dream become a reality and made this custom car out of an old Christopher Bell car. So there's a little shout out to Chesapeake. But he tweeted out um, a picture of Roger Carter, who apparently is teaming up with Mike Offerano to field trucks in 2022. Roger Carter on his Facebook posted, "This is a brand new Ronnie Hopkins truck. I am taking this to North Carolina for a new nose and tail in the next couple weeks." This was posted on November 27th, by the way. Big Mike Offerano and I are taking this bad boy to Martinsville and Bristol. We're looking forward to the 2022 season. We are only unloading top-notch equipment. We both only race because we love it and are building a top-quality race team. So it looks like that Mike Offerano and Roger Carter are returning to the NASCAR series in 2022 in the Truck Series. Now, top-notch equipment, I don't know. Seeing Roger Carter's past in the ARCA series and seeing Mike Offerano's, even though Mike Offerano had one of the best looking trucks, I love that old pink truck he ran. Top notch equipment. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. Let's put it like that. I'll believe it when I see it. I think that's how we all feel. I wish them the best. I love every backmarker team. I pretty much love them all. And I hope these guys do good. But top notch equipment, based on what I've seen from these two guys, I'll believe it when I see it. That's what I'll do. I'll believe it when I see it. But hey, Ronnie Hopkins chassis and truck, I mean, it's a good truck. So if it can get them more competitive, I'm all for it. But we'll see when Martinsville and Bristol comes around. Number one, if they show up, and number two, how competitive they'll be. So yeah. That was just kind of a funny thing I wanted to talk about. Roger Carter coming back for 2022, along with Mike Offerano. So, hey, we got to love the back markers. You always got to get some comedy in there. Oh, that was great. Um, Also, a shout out to more other ARCA news. Andy Jankowiak. You guys might love him, the pizza guy from the ARCA series. He was voted Ken Schrader's Racer of the Year for 2021. So shout out to Andy Jankowiak, a very nice award for a very, very hardworking man. And man, I thought the guy was cool just by interacting with him on Twitter. But man, when I met him at Kansas, what a badass that guy is. He's just the coolest guy, down to earth, chill, and just loves what he does. I mean, where else in 2021 are you going to see a pizza guy who races? If you don't cheer for that, I don't know what else you want out of a back marker. So shout out to Andy Jankowiak for winning that prestigious award. But it looks like that's all we got for ARC Racing and back marker news. I am actually happy to announce, and sorry, I was getting off track there for a second. I hope you guys did enjoy the Bobby Hillis interview. I've heard a lot of good reviews about that. Bobby loved the interview. We learned a lot of stuff we might not have known. If you guys do check out my Twitter, supposedly they sent me a DM. They finally got the chassis pictures, chassis number of the Camry, RC-110. If anyone who's watching has any information on that chassis, we're all confused right now. My buddy Time Card 100 and NASCAR Man, we're trying to figure this out. We want to find the identity of that chassis, and I hope we can. I really hope we can. So that's that. And then I hope you guys go check out that interview. And speaking of that, this is what I wanted to talk about. We will have upcoming on the show ARCA West drivers, ARCA West driver Josh Phanopoulos will be on the show. Um, some people have put me in contact with Josh Phanopoulos, and I will get in contact with Josh, and I'm going to try to schedule that interview for you guys either on Monday or Wednesday of next week. And then we will also get Tony Cosentino, who works for Andy Hillenberg, on the show too. That might be after Christmas. We'll get them on the show because I got a lot of fun questions to ask both of them. Obviously, the one I want to ask Josh is the history of that green car and will he call his green 21 car the Hulk? Because that is a perfect nickname for that car. And then, of course, I got a lot of questions for Tony regarding his 22 racing plans and a lot of questions for fast track racing in general. So I'm very excited for those interviews. I want to get more ARCA drivers on the show. I love talking to the West people because I feel like the ARCA West guys and gals just don't get the TV time they deserve or the recognition they deserve. So I can't say anything else besides those two drivers, but I'd like to get a lot of West guys on the show. Obviously, the East guys, the East and Maine guys are the big targets, but I'd like to also get the West guys on the show. And again, if you guys have not checked out the Bobby Hillis interview, I strongly suggest you should. I call him the Brad Smith of the main series. This guy survives on little. So if you guys want to have some fun for 30, 40 minutes with me, go check out that interview. And we'll be back once we can compile some more news. We will be back with episode 3 of ARCA Racing and Backmarker News. You guys have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you all either the next interview episode, next podcast episode, or interview episode. I don't know. Either way, you guys have a good night. We'll see you later. So long.